デニム総長。怯えていやがるぜ、このモビルスーツ。
Today's episode was actually going to be dedicated towards Gundam Unicorn Re-0096, but for some reason I just wasn't feeling up to it. I felt like most of this I've already seen, nothing was really changed at all, so I decided not to do it. So instead, I actually watched the very first episode of Gundam 0079, and man, it feels so awkward and weird to watch this, you know, just this point in time. And this thing came out even before I was actually born. It's that crazy. I believe this anime aired on April 7th, 1979. And let's just take a second here to picture a Gundam fan that has seen pretty much all of the newest additions to the Gundam franchise and hasn't even seen the very first episode of Gundam 0079. I mean, like, really, come on now. I really do owe it to myself to see this entire series, and what makes this enjoyable really is how hooked I was just from the very first episode. Now when I compared this to something like Gundam Wing, I wasn't really that engaged, nor would I feel like I should watch the entire series. But really, if you haven't seen Gundam 0079, you owe it to yourself as a Gundam fan to see it. It really does have a magical vibe to it. That's probably the best way I could explain it. It makes you hooked. It really freaking does. Now, a common complaint that I believe many people have about seeing this whole series is the actual animation. And coming from somebody that is slightly picky about the quality of anime they watch, it definitely wasn't that detrimental towards my enjoyment from actually watching the episode itself, really. Probably the only thing that I kind of laughed at in regards to animation was how incredibly derpy the Zakutus looked. I mean, look at this picture. You cannot just look at this with a straight face, especially when it's actually in, you know, the pure animation. This is just a simple picture, but this looks hella derpy, guys, and that's the only issue or moment in the entire episode where I pretty much judged the animation. But I really don't care, honestly. I think it's kind of funny to see all these derpy Zakutus, and you also have to take into consideration this is from, well, a long ass time ago, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you watching this video haven't even, or wasn't even born when this series came out. If you are actually born, then kudos to you. You are living it up, man. You've been here before I was even born, and you've seen something incredible. So the episode itself starts off with 3 Zakutus on a reconnaissance mission on Side 7 to pretty much check out the Federation's new weaponry. Then one of these Zakutu pilots apparently thought it was a wonderful idea to shoot down the gun cannon and gun tank parts that weren't even fully completed, because he apparently wanted to be just like Char, and he basically disobeyed orders and, well, shot down the parts and caused panic around the entire colony. During all of this chaos and panic caused by the very smart Zakutu pilot, you can hear Amuro Ray underground in a shelter say that he feels tremors which must resemble explosions, and of course, being the hero that he thinks he is, he decides to leave the shelter to hopefully find a solution to the problem that is rising. Alright, so this is the really good part out of the entire episode, hands down. Alright, so 2 Feddies in the car go to Amuro and we're like, hey, civilians should be in the streets, they should be in the shelter, and they go to this door, get blown up, die. And then out of nowhere, amongst the explosion, the manual to the prototype Federation mobile suit, the RX-78-2, aka Gundam, aka White Devil, just suddenly out of nowhere just flies in front of Amuro, and, well, he reads it, and then he miraculously is able to pilot the Gundam later on. And this is where I was actually intrigued, because Amuro Ray literally has no idea, no clue whatsoever how to fucking fight and pilot a mobile suit, and then he's able to just pilot the RX-78-2 simply by reading a manual written by his father. What I really like about this scene is the fact that he literally had to sit down, take his time to actually learn how to use the Gundam. And when you compare this to the protagonists, they already presumably supposedly already know how to use their Gundams. I really do appreciate this scene a lot because the viewers already knowing that Amuro isn't just given all this power and he's just like this really powerful, tough Gundam protagonist that is just so good and just very skilled. Like, he actually has to work for his power, and he has absolutely no clue how to use the Gundam in the beginning of this episode. So that brings us to the actual moment in this episode where Amuro gets into the Gundam for the very first time. And honestly, this was kind of funny because he first gets in there and he's like, oh crap, the Zakutu sees me. And then he just fires his beam Vulcans. They didn't really do much. He takes out his beam saber. And it was pretty funny. Like, it was just like a little fiasco that was happening there. But he did manage to protect his home, his colony, and he was even worried about hitting the remaining Zakutu's engine, which would actually destroy all of Side 7, but luckily he was able to take out his beam saber and hit the pilot through the cockpit, which avoided the explosion and quote-unquote save Side 7, but really a lot of people already died and there's explosions all over the place and it's actually a complete shithole now. But anyways, good job Amuro, you saved Side 7. One thing that kind of raised a brow for me was how Amuro low-key killed his own dad due to the explosion he caused after killing the Zaku. I mean, like, it put a hole in the colony and his dad flew out of the car, out of the hole, out of the colony, and I think he's still alive because he has air, but eventually he may run out and die. I'm not sure if he actually gets, well, discovered in future episodes, but if he's dead, then good job Amuro once again, I guess. Overall, the very first episode of Gundam 0079 was definitely a very good one. I'm actually engaged into the series and I'm really willing to actually consider continuing watching all the episodes, unlike me watching Gundam Wing where I basically gave up halfway through the series because I got kind of bored of it. But eventually I'll kind of just punch myself in the face and sit down and just I'll be like, alright man, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna finish Gundam Wing eventually one day, but that probably won't be happening anytime soon due to, well, the other Gundam series that I can actually watch. So that's it for this episode review today guys. I honestly had a great time watching this series and I highly encourage everybody that hasn't seen the series to watch it if they are at least remotely a small low-key fan of Gundam itself. So as always, if you guys have actually seen this series and want to share with me your opinions about it, just leave it down below in the comments. And if you would like to also share this video to spread the love of Gundam in all its glory, please feel free to do so. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.
High